Hi, it's Jake here from Canadian Cutting Edge, and for you today, we're going to take a look at the Ganzo G745 series of knives. A good looking knife, a good handling knife, a good feeling knife. So if you're interested at all in this knife, stick around. We're going to move the camera to the tabletop mode, and we're going to take a good look at what makes this knife tick. Stick around. I won't do any size comparisons for this knife because we've just got way too much information to get through. So let's get through some of the specs first. We're looking at a knife that is about 4 3/4 inches long, 12 inches when it's closed. You open this puppy up and you've got 8 5/16, which is right around 21.2 centimeters long. We've got a cutting edge of 3.5 inches, which is 9 centimeters. The handle is about 1/2 inch thick, not counting the pocket clip, which is about 1.3 centimeters. This great 440C steel comes in a blade stock that is 3.5 millimeters thick, which is 0.12 centimeters, inches, right close to an eighth, very close to an eighth of an inch thick. That's the main specs of this thing. So now let's get started looking at some of the details of this knife. The naming convention for Ganzo knives is G, 3 digits for the model, and then 1 more digit at the end for the blade treatment. And then sometimes they have another letter for the scale treatment, not numbers, a letter. So this is the G745. This one is the G7451 with carbon fiber scales. This guy right here is the G7453P. The 3 stands for coated steel, and the P stands for milled out liners on the outside. Not milled out, but milled liners on the outside. The G7452 would be the Stonewash version. 3 is coating, and if there's a P at the end, that means it's G10 that's milled out. Then there's a dash, which talks about the material that the scale is made of. So this one's G7451-CF. G7453P-OR, because if it just has the color designation, that means it's G10. You can have WD, which is wood, and both of the wood versions, there's 2 different kinds of wood. Both of those are in the G7452 series. So the stone-washed ones, you can get 2 options for wooden scales. So all kinds of stuff going on here. I can't get into all of them. You've got loads of different ways of collecting this knife. What we're looking at is a knife that has a handle that I call sort of a casket style. And what you get is a nice little rise right here, and then a flat milled out section for some jimping. And then you've got some nice wavy jimping that's on the blade. There's no thumb rise there. It's just flat all the way across. So you can put your thumb, wherever it's comfortable for you to use this knife and give yourself, the kind of grip that you want, and it'll still give you good purchase. Access lock on all of them. All of them have the tip up option for your pocket clip, and they have them on right and left. And then we've just got a couple pillars that have some nice 3D milling on them, some steps down there. They look pretty sharp. They're all open pillar construction. They've all been liners that are not milled out, but it won't surprise me that Ganzo would be putting out newer versions of this fairly soon with milled out liners. I've seen them do it on the G740, and so it won't surprise me if they do them with this, and that would make it a little bit lighter. But right now, we're looking at 4.9 grams for this carbon fiber edition, which is 138 grams. And this G10 version, with the P, because it's got some milling out there, that milling out has helped this thing lose some weight. It's 4.7 ounces, 134 grams. They're all with this sort of flat top edge on the blade. God bless you, son, if you heard that sneeze in the background. They've all got this flat top, then they got a clip, nice belly, long flat area. Really good knife to do all kinds of cutting that you want. It's a big high Scandi grind, not a full flat, so that's why I'm calling it a high Scandi. You might call it something else, but you can clearly see what it is, a flat grind that goes almost to the top. Some nice swedge work, which helps make the blade look like it's lost weight. The point's actually pretty strong on this. And the 440C steel that Ganzo is using is really good 440C. They've done a really good job with it. The heat treat that they do is just spectacular for this steel. I want to talk about this thumb stud. The thumb stud is nice and close to the back. It just clears the end of the handle right here when you go to close it that little way. And it comes right in the middle of that nice choil, which makes it easy to flick this knife out. Just no problem. But you don't have to use your thumb. You can use the old axis lock and just flick the knife open. It's a little hard to do under here because you can't see it all. And you can just flick that knife open and closed just by releasing the axis lock, because the pivot washers are just fine. I've seen a few of these. Most of them have one bronze and one white nylon washer. I've seen a few of them that have two bronze phosphor washers. In any case, I'm coming to feel that at least the way Ganzo does their washers, the nylon washers that they put in there are just fine. They're working really well. I think there's something about having the coating on the steel that makes the sound not quite as promising or not quite as wonderful sounding as, you know, the satin blade. I just like that sound better. All of the hardware on here is good and hard. It's all Torx. I've had none of them strip on me. Those of you who are familiar with my channel know that I advocate getting good quality drivers because they'll strip screws less often. The lanyard hole is huge. Not very many of you guys use 1100 paracord, but it's out there for those that want it. Really nice knife. The really cool thing, which I've done with some other knives from Ganzo, is I've gotten various ones and I've gone swapping the scales around and create my own new knife that's different than any of the ones that Ganzo sells. You know, that's kind of fun. What I'd like to do is put these orange scales that have this milled out on a Stonewash blade. The pocket clip is very functional. You've got a little over half of an inch showing in your pocket, showing out of your pocket. And the clip works really well. It's grippy enough even with this carbon fiber, because the carbon fiber is done really well. It's very smooth. It's a laminate over G10. And it holds in my pocket just fine. This one, the P versions are a little bit grippy in your pocket, and so it's going to be a little harder to pull them out of your pocket than the regular flat surface G10s or the wooden ones or the carbon fiber. This one's going to be the stickiest in your pocket. If you're interested in these knives at all, go into the description below, please, and use my links, because you'll still get the very lowest price available, but you'll also help me out because I'll get a small commission from them. If you want to look at Ganzo's website, ganzoknife.com, you can take a look at all of their knives and their latest ones, and they've got other products there as well. And before we finish off here, let's do a couple little cut tests. You know, it cuts quite well. This is with an edge that I've not touched at all yet. I haven't stropped it. I've done nothing, but I've used the knife a fair bit. This other knife, the satin one, I've had this one not quite as long. You can see how cleanly it's cutting. It sounds much more clean when it's cutting. Really good. Let's see if it cuts bigger stuff. Here's some paracord. That sliding kind of cut works no problem at all. This thicker wire, this is from an Xbox controller. Cuts through that, no problem that way. Let's try cutting through it this way. Cuts through that quite easily. And those of you who've seen this before or might get a little bored for a few seconds, but this is a substantial wire that I'm cutting through. You know, there's all kinds of stuff in there. It's a good knife. It cuts really well. I enjoy using it. It's very comfortable. I don't find 5 ounces to be too heavy. I like the tip up. The pocket clips are okay. What's the negative to be had on this knife? It just is a great knife from a company that knows how to make really good knives. And I'm so very glad that we can get them at a super low price. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. It really does help me an awful lot. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.